So between January and April of 2024, we've been working on creating a solid foundation for the network. We had 2 online sessions in February and March with all the project partners, and an in-person transnational meeting in April in Portugal. Our online sessions focus on some of the core URBACT tools and methods that will underpin our action planning process, including the problem analysis and the development of vision and objectives. We also looked at the theory and practice of operating in complex systems and with wicked problems, as most URBACT challenges fall into that category. So this looks at thinking modes for dealing with different types of complexity and also at the more iterative approaches that we need to use in order to work through some of this in practice. So this was to help underpin the user-led and participative approach and to encourage iterative testing and piloting approaches that we're seeking to use as we build action plans collaboratively with partners, so with them testing out their ideas with local people as we go. The meeting in April in the city of Torres Vedras in Portugal was the first in-person gathering since the baseline process was completed in December. It was a great moment to have all the coordinators and a range of ULG members together for 2 days of discussions and working together. As we hadn't all met since November, we started the first day with a sort of speed networking round, almost a bit like speed dating for cities, where each project partner team met with every other team and me as the lead expert in sequence in order to pitch their draft vision and objectives to the other groups in turn. So this created a lively session with a little bit of time pressure adding to the excitement, as each city only had 2 minutes to speak during each exchange round. But this also meant they had to explain their vision and objectives 9 times in 45 minutes. And by saying and hearing their pitch repeatedly, each partner team was able to consider and refine the details of their vision and their objectives as part of that process. It was also really valuable to hear what other partners were planning to focus on, giving a really good overview of their network status in an interactive way and without having to sit through 9 PowerPoint presentations from everyone. So the participants were really positive about this approach, it worked really well, and I'd recommend it to others as a way of warming people up and catching up on where you've got to. As part of our ULG Corner session, we heard from project partners Gdansk Entrepreneurship Foundation and Jelgava Local Municipality about how they've been running their URBACT local groups with their stakeholders. So giving the other network partners a chance to hear and share experiences of how to engage stakeholders well and to how to get it to work at a local level. So for Gdansk, they're one of the partners where the City Hall is technically a stakeholder and not the main project lead. So in this situation, the actual project partner, Gdansk Entrepreneurship Foundation, will likely not be responsible for delivering most of the actions in the action plan and will be working closely with the city and other stakeholders to ensure delivery. They're also working closely with the individual members of the group as well and have a one-to-one onboarding meeting with every new stakeholder who's been added to the group to sort of smooth the process, help understand what they hope to get from participation and what they can offer, but also what they think they can contribute to the group as a whole. So this personal approach is great for building more meaningful engagement and relationships, and it's a good example of the sort of way cities can work to build strong connections rather than, for example, a blanket email invite to people. Both Gdansk and Jelgava have taken the approach as well of moving the location of their ULG meetings to different venues, often with the meeting being hosted by one of the ULG members themselves in their location. This helps increase the sense of membership of the group for those hosting and also creates the possibility to offer the members and the attendees opportunities to see something they wouldn't normally get access to. So for example, getting to visit the city's CCTV and Management Control Centre, which is normally off limits to general public and a lot of partners. But the hosting member was able to organise a short tour of the facility as part of the meeting, and this created quite a bit of enthusiasm amongst the stakeholders and also offered them something in return for their time and participation, in addition to what they're getting out of the process anyway. So this is a nice but simple way to boost engagement and also ensures that stakeholders feel valued and get a little bit of benefit back from their participation on top of everything else. We also looked at the ideation process and explored some techniques for creating ideas with groups, including local groups. This included Lotus Blossom, Crazy Eights and the Opera method. The partners also tried out the Lotus Blossom technique on genuine questions posed by the project partner Lepida in Italy to generate some ideas for them to refine their next project pilot. We also heard from Lionel, a local resident who lost his sight and had to adapt to a new way of life. And part of that was finding skills in using digital devices to help him manage his day-to-day tasks. So this wasn't just learning new technology, but because he wasn't actually highly digitally able beforehand and had never really seen the need. But losing his sight gave him the motivation to learn and now makes full use of technology, which has given him back some of his purpose in life and some of his freedoms. Without becoming digitally comfortable, he said he would never really have managed to adapt and really struggled as a result. All this happened through the help of an office within the municipality of Torres who encouraged social participation by helping to support people with visual impairments to find ways, including through technology, to engage fully in life and society. They have around 60 people with visual impairments they're working with, and Lionel is just one of those, who's actually now become a champion for that service, working in the office and supporting others, having started off as someone who needed that support himself. This story illustrated really how someone with lived experience of having to learn digital skills is far more powerful as a champion and a promoter of digital inclusion, because they're more authentic. And they're more of a peer to those other people perhaps needing support or who are fearful of technology. They have the ability to say, yeah, I was in that position too. I said those things and I didn't think it was possible. But actually it is, and I've got there, so you can too. And that's so much more powerful as motivation than a paid employee who never has that experience of that fear directly. This aspect of having champions or mentors who support people to be more digitally included is a core aspect of many of the successful practices we see for helping and supporting people to be included and to gain new digital skills. This really helps them to have the motivation and the confidence to engage in these sort of skills programs, working with a trusted person which they see as a peer and someone they can rely on. Overall, the meeting in Torres Vedras was a really great opportunity for partners to really get into the meat of the topic. We also looked at the topic of data and measurement of the digital divide, and this was a really tricky thing to get into. I said at the start of the session that we're not quite sure how this is going to work and whether we're going to be able to work this out, and it's a big topic and we can't get into all of it straight away. And this played out in the session with people trying to think about what do we have that we can measure, how might we define the divide and how will we measure that, and with mixed success among different groups tackling the different aspects. We were trying to look at the different divides separately, so we had a group working on access divide, a group working on the skills divide, a group working on the empowerment divide, a group looking at motivation, and a group looking at trust, and how we could measure each of these things. What it did was help the group start to participate in this discussion, start to see that it is quite complex and not straightforward. But however, by starting to work through it, we did start to map out some of the opportunities there and some of the shape around how we could define and measure some of these divides. It's a really big piece of work, and we're going to get some additional expertise involved in this to help us work through as a network, so that hopefully we can create a situation where we have a better model for defining and diagnosing the digital divide at a local level, which is the big gap, and then help cities to, from seeing where they're at currently, where the gaps are, we can have a more targeted approach in our action plans as we start to put together the different suite of actions to tackle each local situation. That's going to be a really interesting ongoing thing, and for me one of the really important things that was kick-started in this meeting in Portugal. So that was a really good start. Our next meeting is coming up in Jelgava in June, and we're really looking forward to building on all these exchanges. We'll let you know more in our next journal about that event and how that went, so keep in touch and keep watching. Thank you, and see you soon.